go. This first question came in on ICD-10 guidelines, how to read the section references, and specifically the person asked, I'm finding it hard to understand the references to sections in the guidelines in the ICD-10 CM. Example, hypertension transient section 1C9A7 or 1C18G. I know, it's just like kind of like a legal document. It's like a little scary at first. So we'll break it down and show you how to do that. And what I thought would be good is this could be an opportunity to show you what our CCO club looks like inside, because that's where our club members get access to our Batcave document. And our Batcave is our bubble, highlight, annotate technique guideline videos that we have that help people to mark up their manuals. So let me show you how that works. If you are a member with us, you would basically go to podio.com and let's see here, make sure. And you would go to your little hamburger menu and you're going to go to the CCO Club. Of course, I've got a ton of stuff in here, so don't freak out. You'll only have a couple compared to me. Where's my club? Well, I'm going to do my shortcut that I do. I just type in club in the upper left-hand corner and I jump to it this way. So I'm going to click on the Batcave app up on the top. These are our apps. And we've got it organized in different views: introductory videos, CPT annotation videos, ICD, the errata that will be coming out throughout the year, and miscellaneous things. So I'm going to jump into the ICD. And you can see we've got the PCS annotated guidelines, we've got the CM, we go into the different sections, and these are all kind of listed in this little tile view. You can switch it to a tabular view if you prefer. That's kind of my view of choice. And you can see we've got it separated by year, and we'll keep adding to this, you know, as the years go by. So let me show you the ICD-10 CM. So typically this is where you'll see content. If we had a video, it would be in here. This just happens to be a PDF one. So you just simply click on it, and depending on your browser or your computer system, it may open in a tab like this, or it may automatically open the in your Adobe viewer. So what I'm going to do, because I want to show you the bookmarks, you could just scroll to use this, but I took a lot of time to create. Now these annotations are from Chandra, her nice neat handwriting, her highlighting, but I took the document and did the bookmarking. So I'll show you how that works. You have to download it. So I'm going to do that, and that's going to pull up. There we go. In my Adobe Acrobat viewer. Don't like it when I get that beach ball.
And it's very easy to get Adobe.
All right, and so if you click on this first icon here, this is just showing you the page thumbnails. What you want is the one right below it. It looks like a ribbon, and that's your bookmark. So I've actually went in and created all these bookmarks, and this gives you that hierarchical view. So let me collapse this, and you can actually, I think, collapse all of them at once, if I can remember how to do that. Here we go. Collapse tops level. Okay, so the layout of this document, it's 114 pages. We've got 4 main sections. So section 1 are the conventions, the general coding guidelines, and chapter-specific guidelines. Section 2 is really more for the inpatient coding community, selection of principal diagnosis, but it's still a good read for all coders. Section 3 is on reporting additional diagnoses, and Section 4 is diagnostic coding and reporting guidelines for outpatient services. And then there's an Appendix I. So that's how it's laid out. This is the general text here. So if you start scrolling, you'll see they do have a table of contents, and it's very long. So here is Section 1, Conventions, General Coding Guidelines, and Chapter-Specific Guidelines. And then the first indentation, if you will, is the conventions. And then it goes A1, the alpha index, A2, the format and structure, A3, the use of codes for reporting purposes, and then you jump down to B, and now it goes to the general coding guidelines. So B1 is locating a code in ICD-10-CM, B2 is a level of detail in coding, so on and so forth. And then it goes to C, chapter-specific coding guidelines. This is where we spend a lot of our time, in that Roman numeral 1, C dot whatever. So here's C.1.A. So it goes deeper, 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 more and more nested is how it works. It's very similar to a legal document where they'll have, 1.1.2.3.A. That's, this is how they do it. So what you need to do when someone uses a reference is go back to this collapsed view and just jump into them one at a time in the order that it's presented, and you'll get to where you need to go. It just, it just takes a little bit. You can't kind of just type in that long, 1.C, point 3, point whatever, and jump to it, but you can use this little menu item here. So, and what I did is I further broke it down. So if I want to go to section 1C, chapter specific, I can expand this out, and now I see all the different chapters in ICD-10. So if I want to drill down and go to diseases of the nervous system, that's in chapter 6, I click on that, and it jumps me right to it in the document. It's just a bookmark. Otherwise, you'd have to do a lot of scrolling, and that's where people get lost, and the letters don't line up, and you're like, wait a minute, where was I? So if you use this one, and this PDF is available for free out on the website. What we did is we took this free version and we annotated it. We added our highlights. We added the bookmarks. So what this does is it kind of gives you Chandra's brain on ICD-10 guidelines, and it's just little notes, little cues, circling keywords. That's why this is part of the BAT system, the Bubble Highlight Annotate Technique system, because it's ways to make us have things jump out at us. So let's see. So here's one, Chapter 6, Disease of the Nervous System, G00 to G99. For A, she has highlighted codes from category G81, hemiplegia and hemiparesis, and subcategories G83.1. So here's her note here. Assume all are right-handed if not documented. And then she just wrote here defaults, this bulleted list. So that's pretty much how you do it. What I did for the 2017 version, in red I indicated the new information. So if you click on this one for hypertension, so that's in Roman numeral 1, letter C, 9.A. So 1.C.9.A is pretty much how you would jump to it. And here it is. Now, if you read the beginning of the guidelines, it lets you know new stuff is in bold. And so that's what we're looking at here.
And this was a big change for 2017 too. It's just a heads up.
Yeah. So so what you want to do is, if you've purchased our ICD-10 update webinar that Alicia and I did, you can see all this information, all the highlights of the new stuff. So that's worth checking out. Do we have any questions?
While she's looking at questions, I want to just say, this is, if you studied how to create outlines, maybe in high, I think we did that in high school and stuff. That's what the guidelines are. They're classic outline format. It's that constant indenting, and so if you're, just think of it as an outline. One of the other things that I was going to mention is that with her putting everything in red, that really gives you a heads up. But if this is in yellow, that means you're probably going to be tested on something in this. They're not going to specifically ask you that question. They're going to give you a scenario when that applies, and it doesn't matter what credential you're testing for. If it deals with ICD-10, this guideline applies whether you're doing inpatient, outpatient. Now it specifically says outpatient, inpatient, and stuff, but this particular one on hypertension you're going to be tested on that guideline.
Yeah.
And that's why it's beneficial to have that yellow in there so you can go back and double check and say, this is what they want to know if I know.
And this is really what you want to study, guys, for ICD-10. You want to know these guidelines. You know, when I first started studying and teaching people, a lot of experienced coders didn't even know these guidelines existed. And they're called the official ICD-10 guidelines. Let me go back up to the top. ICD-10 official guidelines for coding and reporting. This is in the front of most ICD-10 manuals. So look for yours, see if it's there. What ends up happening though is by the time the manuals go to print, these guidelines aren't ready yet for the new year. So the 2017 manual that you probably have right now probably has 2016 guidelines. So that's why it's good to have this PDF. We are actually working on getting this very document with our on-demand printer so that people, because it's 114 pages, you could print it on your home printer if you want, if you're a part of the club or you have access to the Batcave. But, you know, we just decided to put it in a little spiral bound. So you are allowed to bring updated material that's related to your manuals directly, this is one of them, to your exam. I did confirm it with the AAPC. I know people get worried sometimes that the proctor won't let them, but they are allowed to bring, you are allowed to bring errata and updated information that's not in your current printed manual. And keep in mind too, if you're testing and you feel that a proctor doesn't have the correct information or isn't going to allow you to do something that you were pretty darn sure you could do, there is a hotline number that they have. It's normally these exams are happening on a Saturday, but they do have someone dedicated to help if there's questions like that. So you can remind the proctor, say, could you call the AAPC? I know they give you like a hotline number because I confirmed before I came that we were allowed to bring in these guidelines, you know, because my manual has last year's. Now this, of course, is for people taking the exam after January 1st. You know, if you're taking the exam in the next, you know, couple of days, we're doing this at the end of December, then you're going to want the 2016 PDF printed and brought in with you. So, and that being said, I've been teaching students to take the CPC exam since the year 2000, and you know, a lot of times, I mean, most of the time, they did not print or bring in the New Year's guidelines. And what that says is what the AAPC does is each year they will take the exams that they've spent a lot of money vetting and creating, and they will go through and each question they will look at and make sure it fits with the new code set. They're not going through and go, oh, okay, we need to put in something on excludes because that's new. Okay, now we need to put in something about with because that's new. And this one, number 19. They don't do that. But probably the following year, if it was a major change, they will probably try and fold in some of that new information. But they're not like right at January 1st trying to get all that new information. That's what CEUs are for. That's what your continuing education units indicate, that you're staying up to date. But for that certification exam, they already have the key core established guidelines already in there. So anything else to share about the ICD-10 guidelines that you can think of?
Well, again, they're testing you on what you know, and they're testing you on the guidelines. And we've always said, both with ICD and CPT, read the guidelines through at least 3 times. And you know, that's going to be very, very important.
And it's not necessarily about memorizing all of these pages, but it's familiarizing yourself with it. So you go, wait a minute, there's something about diabetes. I'm going to go look for that, you know. Now, what's nice about real world, you know, coding versus doing it on the certification exam is you can use the search tools to look up words. If I wanted to type in diabetes, if this is a OCR document or the one from the original site, let me see, diabetes. Am I spelling that right? Let's see if this works. I might have
They know you know how. They know you know how to look up a code. That's not what you're being tested on. Yeah. Do
How do you
you know
spell
the
diabetes?
guidelines?
I'm freezing.
Diabetes.
Right, okay.
I
My
normally
search
can't do
isn't
that in my
working.
head. I've got to always write it. I'm not a
Yeah. So
visual
my
in the
my
sky
search
guy.
isn't working. So what I'd have to do is because what we did in order to get the annotations and the notes, we had to actually scan back in a PDF. So the PDF on the internet, that when you download it, it's already searchable. So I would just need to, make this so it's OCR ready and you can, look up the words. But that's the nice thing, is that you can, search the document that way versus having to, go through each section. So let me just scroll through this a little bit so you can see. So you can see here she's writing everything prior to the tabular list. And then when you're actually taking an exam or in the real world and you're trying to code something, okay, wait, now I know there's an ICD-10 guideline. Let me go check my guidelines. And you can go back and look at it.
If you scroll up just a little bit, that
Oh.
NEC and NOC,
Mm-hmm.
another classic example of what they're going to test you on. That, right there, if you look up where she's got it highlighted, the NOS not otherwise specified, and then it gives the, what that stands for.
Yeah. And I normally, when I very first started teaching this, when I was really confused myself, and I have to give myself these funny stories, I said, so really NOS is the doctor's fault. Like, they weren't specific enough. And NEC is really the book's fault, because the book didn't go into enough specifics, even though the physician gave the details. So that's how I've always reminded myself. So, the NEC
You could even write yourself a note there.
Book's fault, doctor's fault. Yeah, exactly. No offense to any doctors listening. So this just gives you an idea. This is all available in the Batcave. And, just as a reminder to our club members and our students that do have access to this, that this is proprietary. Once we annotate it and add our touch to it, it is not to be shared. It's for people that are our CCO club members. So you're free to use it and download it for your own personal use, but it should not be shared. And if you learn of someone who's doing that, we would appreciate you letting us know, because it takes a lot of time for us to do these annotations and things, and it's a little disheartening when it gets shared out there. Okay, let's go back to, let me see if anyone has any questions. Donna's asking, which of the ICD-10 code books do they have the guidelines just prior to the codes? I think all of the ones that we've used. I know Optum and
know any. Yeah, I think all of them do.
Yeah.
And CPT also is always in the front too. There was is it HCPCS? It has something at the back. One of them has it at the back, and I guess it's HCPCS, where everything's kind of flipped to what you normally expect.
Yeah, that's always been a pet peeve of mine too, that they put the index in ICD in the front, and I'm like, okay, like we can't, we're not intelligent enough to know most books have the index in the back. But at any rate, years ago when they first came out, they literally were in 3 separate bound volumes. Now and some, because so many codes, the codes are growing, that the Find a Code people, they have a division. They do ICD-10 specialty manuals. You're welcome to check it out in the CCO store. But they also have a general ICD-10 manual, and it's so big because they did not do what many of the other publishers did with the small, teeny font. It's in 2 volumes. So they're putting the index in 1 volume and the tabular in another, which you're like, oh, 2 books. But a lot of people are reporting they actually like it because they can have the index open and then flip to the codes. So if you're a paper manual user, you might want to consider that, for next year. And we're actually working with the Find a Code folks on doing a lot of our color coding and annotating and things like that. So look for some good news hopefully in the future on that. But they're really good folks at Find a Code. They really listen. They want to know, what do people want? and they try and do that. So that's what I really like about them.
I think they're
So
education based too. Education is something that they think about. Not all encoder companies think of that.
right.